Hey everybody, Weem here. Welcome to King Under the Mountain, a game I'm going to take a pretty quick look at. It's very early in development, so there's not a ton of depth here just yet, but it is a game I'm very excited about. I will be doing some update videos on as it progresses, and so I thought I would bring you in here and to give you a look at what's to come. Let's get started. Okay, we're getting started here. You can see all of our settlers begin here with our stockpile and just kind of spread out. Now I want to get to explaining some things here, but let's do some orders really quick to get people working while I chat. We're near some mountains here. Trees are not that close. We have some up there, a few down here. Maybe we'll send everybody down into here actually. This would be cool. So we're going to do that. We're going to do a clear order for bushes here. We'll do a mine order to dig in. Let's just dig into like this area here. And then we'll do like a larger room in there. Okay, so everybody should start making their way down there. I should create a stockpile so they can move the stuff down. Let's see, zone, stockpile. I might just put something out here for now so they maybe move some things down there. So there you go, we got some orders going. Now, this game, King Under the Mountain, is, as is described, a simulation-based settlement building strategy game set in a fantasy world. Now, the way I kind of looked at this, you know, my first impressions were RimWorld, for one, from a graphic standpoint, although check out that lighting. Really cool dynamic lighting here. So RimWorld from like a graphic sense, and a graphics and appearance sense, I suppose, and Dwarf Fortress from the sense that you've got this larger party, that it's fantasy based. So that was kind of my initial take. Now when I mentioned this to Ross, the developer, I said this is kind of my initial take, you know, what would you say to that? He said, you know, this game is certainly inspired by those games, Dwarf Fortress especially. So there's going to be some of those elements. And the game will be similar to those, especially similar to those early on. But he also threw in Settlers 1 and Settlers 2 as kind of a comparison too, that there's elements or there will be elements to this game similar to that as well. So, and he's also listed a number of other games on the website too that this is inspired by. But the thing is, once this really gets going down the road, they've got some plans going for this that are really going to help distinguish it from those. Definitely borrowing from those and kind of building on that, but bringing their own new things to it. And that's what I'm really excited about. Now, down in the description, I'll have a link to the roadmap. Take a look at that and you'll see a lot of really cool features coming down the road that I'm excited about. And I'm going to go through some things I'm specifically really excited about a bit later, but let's kind of continue exploring this a bit. So right now in this build, there's not a ton that we can do. We've got all kinds of workers. They're walking around doing different things. You can see we're mining, we're dragging out rocks, wood, things like that. We can basically gather resources. Let's hop back in here a bit. We can give orders to mine, to chop wood, and to clear bushes. Those are the primary orders right now. We can zone for these different things: stockpile, sawmill, and masonry workshop. If we go into here, we can actually just kind of drag out an area. Let's just do something like that. And let's jump into furniture and get a stonemason bench. Can we make this yet? Looks like we can. So we could put this here. Granted, I probably shouldn't put that there. It should probably be a bit closer in here. Maybe I'll give orders to dig this out a bit more. But we can make the stonemason shop. We can do the, I called it a shop like they sell stone. That's not what I meant. Basically where they do the stonework. We can also come in here and get the wood cutting bench and a door. I actually haven't messed with a door yet. Okay, so it's just a 1 block. That's cool. And a lantern as well. Let's actually like set a few of these down. I'm curious to see how well they like the area. Now your mouse likes the area too, and so you can see that again, this dynamic lighting as I move my mouse around. It's pretty cool. It's easier to see at night. But that's kind of the basics of what we have right now. We can do gathering and we can get some of these workbenches going. But definitely don't have a whole lot of other stuff to do beyond that. Look at that lighting. So cool. I mentioned earlier that this game was going to be quite similar to some of these other games in the early days. That's really how game development works. You build the foundation of a lot of these things, and then you add on to that. Once you have that foundation down, then you really start expanding on that and getting into the crazy stuff. You don't start with the crazy stuff. You got to get the base kind of worked in. But what Ross was telling me was that he's building towards the ability to basically allow you to take small squads of military characters out on dungeon crawl adventures, which is pretty cool. He said it's something like a mix of Dwarf Fortress adventures and a turn-based tactics game like XCOM, which to me sounds really cool. I love the idea of grabbing like a couple of these guys and saying, you know what, everybody else is working, let's go over to this dungeon and go through there and find loot and items, you know, potentially magic gems I was reading about that have multiple purposes. So that's pretty exciting. Now, one of the other things while I talk about taking a military out that I thought was really interesting was he told me about this idea, this concept of players building a settlement. Let's say I've really dug this out, I've got this whole thing going. I've got, as he said, as he called it, the production chains. I've got those going where characters are bringing in wood, the sawmill guy is sawing it, they're moving the pieces. You get these chains going, production, producing, you know, various goods and everything. And your settlement, though, can be saved out essentially, and it can appear in other people's games, a copy of it in a sense. And then, if I recall correctly, he was talking about one possibility is that when another player runs across your settlement, the copy of it, the characters might even be a different race. So instead of dwarves in this case, maybe they're orcs now. And so that player can actually find that settlement and say, whoa, I need to bring some people here and raid it, and basically raid your settlement, your copy of it again. And I just thought that was really a cool way of doing that, because you get some really unique builds, because these are player-built areas, without the actual PvP element of taking from that player. I'm currently playing a prototype of the game right now, which anybody can actually go download and play. I'll have a link to it in the description, but it did just crash on me. I had to do a new save, but very, very easy to get back to the point I was at here. So one of the next things I wanted to talk about was the races. I mentioned it just a minute ago, that another person's settlement could be played by a different race, like in your world, and that's something that's coming down the road as well, is for the ability for you to play different races, which I thought was really cool. So one of the description was that if you were playing an orc, for example, as the orc race, orcs want to be involved in a good fight. That's what it takes to keep them happy, and they're not going to grow crops themselves or raise many animals, so they're going to need to raid other settlements and everything. That's going to be a key part of their gameplay, which to me sounds awesome. Another description said that the dwarves would be the only ones that could craft superior steel, so humans might choose to attack them instead of trade with them, if that's going to be, you know, work out for them better, which is cool. I like those kind of things. We definitely want differences. If we're going to play different races, it's nice to actually have something beyond cosmetic be the difference between the different races there. I love nighttime. I just love the lighting. These guys have got in here into, what is this? Navigate gold ore, right? Native gold ore. Cool. I don't know how I read that as navigate, but he was navigating the gold ore. So anyway, yeah, we're getting to some gold. I'm not sure what this other material is. You can't tell what it is until you get to it and mine it out. So I can't click on this yet. But once they do and somebody moves it out, this is slate? Is the other stuff just rock? I'm not sure. What does this say it is? Stone boulder. Okay, so maybe it's slate. Maybe that's what this is. Oh, actually, you know what? I bet you this is slate and this is the rough stone. So we actually have a difference between these even. Okay, now we can select this guy. Galina. Galina ore. Very cool. Cool. You can see I put a door in here and that kind of opens and closes as they move through it. That's pretty cool. And I think I got to another... Oh, not quite yet. We have some green ore in here. I'm curious about the name of that. But anyway, things are progressing pretty well. I put down the workbench here, and it looks like he's automatically making these blocks out here. 12 marble blocks. What else do we have here? 28 steel ingots. Okay, so they're automatically processing these. Now, right now, we're not getting a choice in the matter. I did put down, for each area, they have a large and a small table as well. So I put those down to see if there was anything to interact with there. It doesn't look like it, but... that's fine. So anyway, this guy's working on breaking the metal out, or breaking the stone out into blocks and the ores into some metal automatically. So that's pretty cool. We've got some slate blocks going over there. We also have some of the wood being made into planks and everything. So that's all happening right now based on the workbench down there. I mentioned the door there already, so that's pretty cool. And we do have the lanterns down here, kind of waiting for it to get a bit darker to see what they are all about. Now, right now it looks like I have about 18 people, and I did a quick count, so maybe it's 20, something like that. Ross was telling me that you're going to be dealing with populations between 100 and 200. So if you can imagine just having tons of dwarfs or orcs or whatever the case may be roaming around. I think that's pretty cool. Some of the other features that excite me about this are that mod support is here right away. It already right now, as he said, easily supports mods. He's going to do a little bit more work there to make that even easier, but right now the game is actually ready for that. Detailed embark settings are coming, where basically you'll choose your race, but also all kinds of different settings about the world and materials you're bringing, those kinds of things, to kind of let you customize the way you're going to be starting right off the bat. Here's that. So we get this malachite ore. It's cool. I mentioned settlement rating already, as well as playing as different races. Those are two things that really excite me. Also, mentioned on the roadmap is underground caves, like very large underground caves, which I think is really cool. I really love that from Dwarf Fortress, just kind of stumbling across these massive caverns that you don't know how deep they are. You kind of explore down in them. Nomoria had a very similar feel for me as well. When you would pop into those, then you could actually see the opening on your level, but it would let you just kind of pan down through the levels, and that was always fun for me. How big is this? How deep does this go? And I just love that. So I definitely like the idea of finding large underground caves in the game here. He's also mentioned the Nemesis System, inspired by Shadow of Mordor. If you know anything about Shadow of Mordor, I haven't played it myself, but I've seen a lot of videos on that, and that Nemesis System is so cool. It's just got this network of enemy creatures, so you're not just fighting tons of orcs, but you're coming across these like boss orcs, and they have lieutenants and different guys, and they're named and they have special abilities, and they remember who you are. If you interact with them and fight them and leave, they're going to remember who you are. You can scar them, for example. Really cool system. I'm really interested to see how that plays out here down the road once you get that in. Also mentioned is the ability to play as a single character. I believe it was a wizard, if I recall correctly, was one of the ideas. Another was that you would get to play as a necromancer. The description there says, alternatively, you could play as a necromancer, plan to live forever through the dark magic of undeath, raise undead legions to do your biddings, and silence your enemies. Become an immortal, all-powerful sorcerer on your way to world domination. That sounds really cool. But another one, too, is to be able to play as a dragon. Here it says, amass your hoard of gold and gems to increase your power as your kobold minions follow your orders. Strike fear into the hearts of settlers attempting to live within your domain. That just sounds awesome. Well, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I wanted to keep this video very short, just introduce you to the game in these very, very early stages, kind of give you some information on it, and see if it was something you guys might be interested in following yourselves. Like I said, I'm going to be keeping an eye on it, and I'm likely to follow this up down the road with update videos. As maybe some of the larger updates come out, I'll revisit it, check it out, and show it to you guys. So I wanted to do that introduction here. This could be the very first video of hopefully many more to come. Now, down in the description, I will have a link to this prototype. If you want to mess around with this, you can. There's also a link to the roadmap if you want to see future plans, as well as to the Kickstarter, which is starting soon, as I recall, if you're interested in that. All of those links will be down below, anything else related to the game. And yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. I do want to thank you guys for watching. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.